cmpradio.net, the voice of Chester.
Hi everybody, my name is Donna, also known as Donna Janel, CEO and founder of Parenting with a Purpose. Our strive here at the podcast is to reach every home, whether it's single moms, married, single dads, whatever it is, foster parents, whatever, just bringing the ownership and responsibility and nobility back into parenting. Get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. All parents need some help and guidance, and I'm just here to be a guide. Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting with a Purpose. I am your host, Donna Janel, where we are aiming to bring back the responsibility and nobility back into parenting. Parenting is not for the weak. It is such a challenge in parenting. Parenting comes in so many shapes, forms, nationalities. It's very diverse, pretty much. Parenting is very diverse. And, there's not no quote unquote instruction manual in parenting. A lot of times we parent out of the way we were parenting. We parent out of fear. We're parenting just all these. Sometimes we're intentional parenting. Sometimes we're not. So there's a lot of conversation in regards to parenting. So this month here, the theme for this month is, I told y'all when I go live, sometimes I get a little jacked up. This live stuff. All right, y'all seen me last week. I kind of messed up again. All right, so this theme this month is wellness and wholeness. Parenting is wellness and wholeness. Repairing our broken pieces so that we don't bleed into our kids. And what I'm saying by that is that we know that parenting, I'm not talking about being a perfect parent. I'm talking about being a whole parent. And that comes in different ways. And sometimes, whether it's our childhood or even our early adulthood, that we have wounds and scars and things like that. And if we don't heal properly, we transfer those things to our children. Now, everybody goes through something. Like, everybody been wounded at some point or the other. And sometimes we just don't heal those scars. And then we end up transferring that to our children. And then it becomes a generational thing. So this month, the topic is, how do we repair our broken pieces so that our children don't have to fight the demons that we were supposed to slay and fight? They don't have to deal with some of the stuff that we dealt with, right? So last week we had Pam on the show. And Pam, we were breaking down even how we're supposed to stretch our kids, how we're supposed to not parent in fear, right? We're really supposed to be intentional. So this week we have on here my own friends, actually, my peoples, my brothers and my sisters. We have Kelley and Art Bowers, right?
Yes.
Hi, Kelley. Hi, Art.
Hey there.
All right. So Kelley and Art Bowers, they have been married 38 years. First of all, half of us can't be married 38 seconds, okay? But they have been married 38 years. They raised 4 beautiful children. And now, guess what? They doubled that with grandkids now. They got 8 grandkids that they're assisting, helping their children as well. So I have them on the show tonight because, 38 years of being married, that's already just amazing, right? And then they have adult children. So we want to know, what was like raising these children. Because Kelley, I think y'all, how old is your oldest?
My oldest is 39.
39 years of parenting, y'all. 39 years of parenting. So they got some gems for us. They got a lot of stuff that they've been through. They probably help us to be able, because I know right now I got these 3 teenagers and whoo. A sister need help. Like I told you, it's not perfect. It is a hard knock life out here, especially raising 3 teenagers at the same time, okay? So, Kelley and Art, what's up?
Hey.
Hey, I'm going to start with basically just getting a little bit of information about you guys. Like, what was it like growing up? How many siblings you had? If both parents were in the house, what was going on in your childhood before we even get into parenting for these 39 years, okay? So who wants to go first? All right, Kelley, you want to talk about your life?
Well, I grew up with 4 siblings, a brother and 2 sisters, so it was 4 of us. My mother and my father was in the household. Mm-hmm. Basically, that's my 4, siblings. But, we ended up losing our mom at a young age. Mm-hmm. She was only 36. I was 14. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of rough in a way, just growing up without a mother. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, but my dad was always there for us, and basically, the boys' club raised me. It's Boys and Girls Club now, but
Okay.
I always was at the Boys Club, and it taught me a lot. Taught me how to be a young man, transition into a man. You know what I mean? Kept me off the streets.
Okay.
So, and there's violence going on now, and then it was going on back then. But so, it was just whatever road you chose. You know what I mean? So the boys' clubs kept me focused on what I want to do and where I should be. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Kelly?
I grew up in a home with my mom and my father, and it was 6 of us, actually, 2 boys and 4 girls.
Oh, teenage life.
So it was a little bit distance between the oldest one and between Wayne and I.
Okay.
So we, on top of having our parents, when our parents left, they became our parents.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so mainly Gail and Pat, at the time when my parent left, they were the ones that were in the home when I got older. So it was mainly Gail and Pat that actually took over the household when they wasn't fighting.
That's simply fight, simply fight. So they pretty much, when your parents stepped off, they pretty much parent you.
Yes, myself and my brother, Wayne.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. All right, let me ask you a question. You said your mom passed away when you were young, and then your dad, you lived with your dad, raised you.
Yes.
You and your 4 siblings. How was that for you, though, growing up, And the only reason why I asked that, because, my girls, both of their parents are deceased, and they died early at 36 and 37, but they were real young. The girls were 6 and 8. So, and I know the challenges that we have, me being a single mom, raising them. So I can't imagine like a dad, raising 4 kids.
Well, when I say raised us, it was basically financially. He made sure that what we needed was there. He wasn't actually there all the time.
Okay.
So we raised each other ourselves. We grew, washed our own clothes, fed ourselves. I went from straight from a young teenager to a man. Really.
Wow. Okay.
So I just had to walk the life out that I seen before me, and raise myself.
I was going to say, you pretty much raised yourself, and you had to grow up quick, right?
Yes. But my aunt was there also as well. But we're talking about in the household.
Right.
There was not a physical adult in the household with us. So we took care of the house, and we took care of ourselves.
Wow. That's deep, because that's at an early age.
Yeah.
So you had to pretty much grow up fast. So your dad was there financially, but the other stuff that when we talk about, like your dad provided a shelter, finance and stuff. But when we talk about now, as we look into parenting now, and we'll get into that about how you parent your own children, we're talking about emotional and all that stuff. It's where you guys had to build that within yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, because I know like you guys are older than I am. I'm not gonna say how much older, but I know back in
a couple years.
Just a couple years. Oh, okay. I know back in the day, like parents really thought their role was to provide shelter, clothing, and food. Like that was just it. Like these are the needs, and this is what we're gonna do. So pretty much by any means necessary. But that as far as mental and emotional stability, like that was far in between. Like that was something that a lot of parents didn't do. Like they didn't tap into the emotional state of a child or the mental state of a child. Have you experienced the same thing, or were your parents tapped in a little bit more than food, clothing, and shelter?
I would say yes.
Okay.
Yes, my dad was a talker.
Okay.
To his kids. He would take us aside, and he would instill a lot of wisdom into us individually. because his favorite saying was, you know, you have to wake up in the wee hours of the morning to fool me. You know, so that alone, you know, made me afraid. I was like, okay, I'm never going to tell this man a lie.
So wake up in the wee hours in the morning to fool me.
Yes, absolutely. You know, so I didn't play with him. You know, I really didn't. I respect him. You know, and you know, he had a clear understanding that each one of his children had their own personalities. He couldn't talk to one the same way he would talk to the other.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, I didn't find out until I was an adult that the first 3 were not his biological children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But he raised them, and you wouldn't dare say they wasn't his children.
I think that, you know, back in the day, I think that was the common thing. Like, you were raised children. It was no step this or step that or anything. It was literally, these are my kids. Yes. Because I remember my mom's first child was not by my dad, but you would have thought, I didn't know until older, you would have thought that was, you know, his child. And I think that somewhere along the lines, as years went by, that's kind of lost in society. It's like I'm identifying you as my stepchild, or, you know, sometimes even when we're talking about blended families, sometimes we still have that little, I guess, that little line there. And at least what I see with the younger generation, I don't kind of see that with like people who are much older than me, of how they identify their kids. But when I see it like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take my stepson to the basketball game, or I'm gonna take my stepson, like, well, where did step come from?
Right.
We got it. So that's kind of different from when we were younger.
Yeah, my dad didn't play that word.
Yeah.
No.
Now, when we talk about like how your parents raised, now, all right, let me ask you a question. When your mom was alive, like, was she a disciplinarian? Like, how was she in parenting with you?
Yeah, she was a disciplinarian, but my dad mainly was the one. But we respected both of them.
Right.
But, you know, sometimes with me, she would say, your dad's going to deal with you when you come home. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much what it was.
Now, when she made those statements, were you scared?
Yeah. But when she wanted to discipline you, she did. Whatever she finds. I've gotten hit with a extension cord before, all that kind of stuff. So that made you a better person. That make you
that's what you think? Extension cords made you a better person?
Oh man, you
straighten up quick.
You straighten up.
I mean, of course you may do it again, but but you don't forget.
You don't forget.
The extension cord, nah. Yeah. Okay. And it wasn't that they was being abusive or anything.
Right, because
like
there's a difference between discipline and abuse.
You're not listening, and whatever I get my hands on, especially if that's mom and you a boy, big grown, strong boy, she whatever she get her hands
whatever
on.
she could,
Yeah. To get her point across, and your dad gonna see you when he get home.
And your dad going, I'm gonna get you now, but your dad gonna get you too. So you're like, oh man, I done messed myself. You thought twice before you even did anything wrong.
Yeah.
Now, Kelly, how about you? How were your parents in disciplining things like that?
It's basically the same. Yes, that was my mom's favorite word. Wait till your dad get home, and especially let them, you know, they always talk that night, because my dad worked that night, so he came home, you know, late hours, so that was their talking time. Oh my goodness. So you was getting woke up.
I wonder why parents why moms always say like, wait till your dad get home. Like, it's almost like, oh, I'm nurturing you, I can't really be the one to discipline you, I need somebody else, you know. I don't know. I remember when my dad and my mom was in the house when I was younger, and my mom used to sometimes, this was very young, probably like 5 or 6 or whatever, I do remember her telling us, when your dad get home. And then when my dad got home, and he would have to take one of us upstairs or whatever, but my dad wasn't really the disciplinarian like that. My dad, I was a daddy's girl, so, you know, he would take us upstairs and we would act like we was crying. Like, he was acting like he was beating us, right? Come downstairs, so my mom was actually the one that was a disciplinary, and, you know, sometimes she took it too far, way too far, but she was definitely the one My dad, my dad used to, we used to crack up because, my mom used to have a belt with everybody's name on it. I'm telling you, everybody's name was on the belt. And if you did something and nobody owned up to it, everybody's name on the belt anyway, so y'all all get it. But yeah, I do remember my dad. He wasn't, it was not like that. He would act like he was whooping you and wasn't doing nothing. Now, my brother, on the other hand, he was taking care of them, but, it was 4 of us, and in the house, it was 3 girls and a boy, so, we was kind of daddy's girls. All right, so let's get in. So we know about your childhood, how you grew up. So let's get into your parenting. Now, you have 39 years of parenting under your belt. Whoa, I'm just saying. Ooh, girl, listen. How, so the first question is, what from your parents did you bring over to your parents, and the good stuff, before we go into things may not be so good or whatever? Because, I think as we grow, we have different perspectives of what our parents could do better, what coulda, shoulda, and how we're going to do our own children, right? So what's some of the things that, like, you just ain't changed? Like, this is how my parents did it, and this is how we going to rock out.
Well, for me, I talk to my children a lot. But I also chastised them. I was the disciplinary.
Oh, you were the disciplinary. You was the one.
Yeah, I was the one.
Yeah. She was.
He said, yeah, she was.
Yeah.
All right, so you brought that over to raising kids. So you were disciplinarian. Now, going into how you discipline, right? Because that's always a question. Because when you think about generation, like you just said, your mom picked up, like, your dad, like, whatever was around, or you was definitely disciplined, right? And it was corporal punishment. It wasn't just discipline you in the corner or having a conversation, just not having a conversation.
I mean, my dad was big on punishments. So he would punish you. Depends on the time, depends on what you did.
Okay.
So, like, my brother used to get months punishment.
Months?
Where he had to open up the door, take a deep breath, and say,
he had to get some fresh air. He had no air, like he was suffocating in the house.
Yeah. So I never experienced that. But I would get a week or 2. It depends. Now, my main punishment with my dad really is when I used to be stubborn. Okay. Like when he say no, you can't, and I would throw a temper tantrum, something like that, and then I was in trouble.
Okay.
Stuff like that, or with my mom.
Okay.
So I outgrew that real quick.
You outgrew that real quick because the chastisement there had you straighten up.
Yeah,
you get some act right.
Yes.
Okay. So as far as parenting your own children now, how, we know that there was discipline, and then you said you were disciplined, so you were beating your kids. I mean, you was whipping them. Like, to be frank and clear, I'm just saying, like, I'm trying.
It was funny though, because
like,
they take off running through the house. We trapping them. They go down the basement, know good and well they can't get out of the basement, so you got to come back up.
Yeah, it was tag team.
You was tag teaming them.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all gonna get
Art.
Really,
the athletic one.
Oh, so he was running. He know how to jump and all that.
Oh my God.
Nice to hold them, and she beat them.
Oh, you used to hold and she used to beat. I can't even picture this right.
I hold them down, put the legs in between the legs, put the butt up,
Wait, you balled them up, put the legs here, and put the butt up so she can tap that butt. Yeah. So y'all tag team beating up. Oh my God. It was like some acrobatics up in y'all house.
But then when we end up coming away from that, we pretty much was punishments, stuff like that. Art was, big basketball player, so there was a lot of tournaments going on that his school was in. And I'll take him to the game, but we sitting there watching. You ain't playing.
Oh, so punishment became different.
Yeah,
so what made y'all go away from the physical punishment?
Well,
y'all got tired? Y'all arms was tired? What? Out of breath? What's going on?
I mean, because sometimes you can see that doesn't work all the time.
Okay.
I mean, you can't keep beating, and it's still the same result.
Right.
From them. You know what I mean? So you have to do something different. You have to adjust,
Right.
To, like, how we do, we adjust to people's situations in their
Right.
life. We meet them where they are, you know what I mean? So we had to adjust with them, talk to them. 'Cause we walk sometimes a while for, long walks and going to different games or whatever. We walk there. So we had time to talk, explain to them why they can't do what they want to do, what they did wrong. I mean, it was times though. Now, it was times I used to go get Art from school.
Yeah.
Said we going home for lunch. Come on, let's go. We gonna go home. We gonna get some lunch.
Excited.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Wait, that was a setup.
Yeah.
When you pick him up from school early, you think you gonna go home and get some
'Cause I'm
lunch?
getting a call. He's showing
Yeah,
off.
he's
from
showing
Oh,
school.
so you like, all right, we gonna go home,
Yeah.
and he all excited. Then he get home and it's a rude awakening.
Yeah.
Yo.
Bust his tail, taking him back to school, crying. No.
Yo, so let me ask you a question. Hey, I can't imagine being there. It probably was funny sight.
Yeah.
What carried over that you probably think that should not have carried over in parenting, like how you parent your children?
Well, for me, later on, I learned that I was parenting or chastising, should I say, chastising in fear.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, because we lived in the area, there was a lot of crime going on, and me raising my children in Christ, I didn't want them to get involved in that atmosphere.
Right.
And praise God, the children, had athletic abilities, so they did travel a lot with Art. However, when they showed off in school or skipped school, then I had to handle it. So, it was a lot of fear, especially when my daughters were growing up. My oldest daughter was growing up in the skipping school and all that stuff. And, you'd be going through your mind, oh my God, you think about what she could be doing,
right,
or whatever. So I did chastise her hard, and I thank God today that we even have a relationship.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because of the fact that I had to apologize to her, once I realized and, came to the understanding that I was chastising her out of fear, and being a Christian, I just was immature in that area. I did what my parents did.
Right.
Okay. So when I realized that
Which wasn't a bad thing.
No, but it was tearing her down, and then I didn't want her and I to have a broken relationship.
Right.
So I had to start, number one, change my prayer. Because of the fact that I needed to know how to pray for her and myself, how to handle my children better. And so today our relationship is very good. Now, does she handle her children the way I handle her? No.
Right.
She does not.
I'm going to go to that in a minute. So let's go back up a little bit because you said you were parenting in fear. So basically, and the way you were doing that, the way you chastised her was in fear because you wanted them to be a particular way, like, growing up. And I think a lot of people who've grown up in an area that is not, as peaceful or, gun violence or, kids get into any and everything. And I think a lot of us who've grown up in that type of space or even begin to start raising our kids in our space, we become very fearful though, because we don't want to lose our kids to the world, right? Exactly. So I feel like sometimes like parents parent the best way they know how, but it seems like it's a protection mode. But that protection mode can really go a couple ways, right? So fear can be, I won't let my child ever go outside and I keep them in the room inside the house and they had to come out and try and get some oxygen, right? Or it can be, I'm going to bust you up so that you don't go out there and do A, B, and C, right? So both ways, though, later on, these kids are still kind of dealing with those effects, right? So it's not necessarily like, okay, I've been hurt and I'm broken, so I'm going to take it out on you. It's I'm parenting out of fear because I don't want to lose you. And I think sometimes
you make decisions that you'll regret down the line.
Right.
You know what I mean, so we try to. We all go through things in life. When we were younger, we know what they're going through when they're younger.
Right.
They don't understand that, but it's to teach them not to go through the same thing that we went through.
Right.
Because it could be harder for them, or they won't be able to handle it the way that we handled it. You know what I mean? So we kind of
just to try to help them to make better decisions. However, the harshness of the punishments and everything, it can really go a different way.
Right.
You're trying to help them to make wise decisions, but you handling them the way you handle them could cause them to go the way that you don't want them to go.
Right, yeah. It can kind of have an adverse effect on it.
Yes.
And I think, you made a point, you said that you was parenting, chastising the way that you were chastised. And I think, I don't know, when you were growing up and you were being chastised, did you ever say, oh, I won't do this to my kids when I get older?
No.
No? No? Oh, I did. Listen, I'm like, when I had kids, I'm not doing A, B, and C.
But see, we came from a generation like we were taught that the community raised us.
Right, okay.
So you'll get a beating down the street from Miss Ann and then come home and get a beating. You know what I mean? So the community definitely played a part with me or with us. I mean, with our growth and with us growing up. You know what I mean? Because kids nowadays walk down the street and just cuss right in front of adults.
They don't care.
When we were younger, we wasn't doing all that, even if we knew them or we didn't know them.
Yeah,
but somehow it get back to your doorstep, and then when you get home,
absolutely,
you know what I mean.
You be like, your mom had eyes in the back of her head. No, the neighbor down the street had them eyes.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a good
cousins.
thing. And I think that my kids too were the same way that the community looked out for them. I mean, like Kelly said, the crime that was in there, and allowing them to grow up and go to the house party, not house parties, but parties. Well, it could have been house parties too, but the people from our neighborhood that was the bad kids, let them know, y'all need to get out of here because this is getting ready.
So it was really more like a village raising children.
Yes.
It was really a village. Everybody was kind of looking out for each other.
Yes.
And knowing that you the good kids, we know your parents, so I don't even know why you here. You might as well get out of here, go
and
home.
That happened to them,
Yeah.
So,
wow.
I mean, that saved their lives a whole lot. I mean, because we hear nowadays, or even years ago, of kids that's they say being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right.
Parents getting a call because they're innocent bystanders and their child's gone. You know what I mean? So ours knew when they said, you need to get away from here, don't be standing around trying to talk to
You better go.
Yeah.
Right. Now that y'all have grandkids though, do y'all find yourself being a little bit softer or a little bit more? Oh wait, because you said at one point you learned how to parent different, or you learn how to chastise different. You learn how to, because you realized that it was breaking the oldest daughter more than it was kind of helping her. And that at one point you thought that relationship was really going to be severed because of that. So at some point you realized this is not how I want to be, and this is not how I want her to be. So I'm not gonna say what light bulb came on, but kind of like what twitched in your head and say, wait, something ain't going the way that I really desire for it to go. I heard you say that you needed to pray. Well, what sparked you to say, hey, I can't do this like this anymore?
It was something that she had done. She was trying to hide it from me. Okay. But being a Christian, you gotta make sure that you know things, right?
Right.
So I found out what she had did. But instead of chastising her, I sort of kind of had sympathy for her.
Okay.
Right. And at that point, I was like, look, I need to talk to my daughter more. You know what I mean? and guide her. Yeah.
Because you get to a point where, like I said before, you get to a point where you understand that beating on them or beating them or whatever ain't changing nothing.
Right.
So you have to do a different approach. Sit down, talk to them. The punishment works because when you outside looking in, I mean it does.
Right.
When they know that they can't come back through that door because you don't want to listen or obey the rules of the house, then
Right.
unless you can go out there and take care of yourself, let me see you.
Yeah. Let me see you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I think the teenage years are like, for me, again, because I'm only 24 years into this parenting thing, right? And I just feel like the teenage years seem like to be the hardest years, or that's the years where a lot of people have like the roughest time in their relationships with their children, because they're now at this adolescent, they got more their hormones, and they're in this era, in this age where they want to be independent, and we want our kids to be independent, right? But we want them to be independent safely and respectfully, right? But kids, because they're so immature and they want to go ahead and be independent first, so then they cause a lot of friction in these years. And I know I find myself, listen, let me tell you, I'm struggling, y'all. I'm telling y'all, I am struggling with, it's not all three teens that does it. It's just like the one particular really challenging me, and I had to pray and say, God, how you want me to parent her? I always go back to, in the Bible where Moses had went to God and said, listen, these your kids. The children of Israel were out here cutting up, right? They was doing all types of stuff, and he was getting hot. He done slammed the commandments. Like, he was mad, because I feel like that sometimes. I be mad. Yeah. And he was like, listen, man, I ain't had these your kids. What you want me to do with them? And then he really had to get direction from God of how to really lead the people, right? Because as parents, we're leading, we're guiding. And there is no, we keep saying there's no handbook, but really if we have a conversation with God and understanding, like you said, your dad did, each child is individual and they have their own way, so we can't parent them all the same.
Right.
And that whole parenting in fear is really real, because not only, it's almost like we restrict our kids to not grow, and they're supposed to grow.
Right.
But we just want them to grow safely. So you're saying, like, so even though you was really hard on your oldest daughter, but she parents different, so she didn't take that over to her parenting.
No, she doesn't. No.
Okay. Now, what's your perspective about it though? Like, because it's a totally different parent. Well, my age, our generation definitely parents children differently than people much older than us. We kind of talk to our kids more and stuff like that.
I think actually all of my children are pretty calm when it comes to correcting their children, to be honest. Sometimes I'll be like, I be throwing my eyes.
Yeah, eyebrow go up top mode. You be ready to go into mommy mode, right?
Yes, I do. But then I have to remember I'm grandma, I'm my mom. So, that's their job,
Right.
and they handle their children the way they do, and their children respects them. So all of them are doing very well. They don't they're not as harsh as I was.
They ain't holding each other, so somebody got the butt in the air and the other one tagging them down. Okay.
No, they have their own way in punishing their children. You know what
Okay.
I mean? If they have to chastise them, I'm not going to say they don't spank them. That would be a lie. They do. But that's not their first decision. Let's put it like that. Yeah, they try to talk, reason and...
I think that
Kelly, do you feel like they do a little bit too much? Be honest. Let's be right. And sometimes
it depends on the child.
Because I'm telling you, like, I know my parents, like, they definitely be like, yo, you talk to them too much. You do this too much. You doing that too much. If you don't, I'm like, but they're different kids, and you don't want to do that. Listen, because I'm like, well, how did it work for you? Because I have problems now, okay?
I think now with my grandchildren, I'm a lot calmer. For instance, like one of my grandchildren recently was getting in some serious trouble. actually he did get in some trouble, you know, but it wasn't all the way his fault, you know.
Okay.
People were coming at him different ways, but I was in my office, was coming at him different ways. And I was like, wait a minute, let him explain himself.
Right.
You know, and just allowing him to get out what he actually was doing, you know. And he was right, really, because what he was doing at the time, he was obeying his mom. However, it was sort of kind of at the wrong time.
Okay.
You know, so but everybody was coming at him. And I said, y'all have to let him explain himself. You have to let him talk, you know, and y'all have to realize when he started getting angry, because he wears it on his face. So it's like you can see his body stiff up and his face starts, you know, becoming distraught. When you see that, lay back.
Now, would you done that with your own kids?
No.
Right.
This is something that I'm learning.
This is something you're learning.
Yes,
Wow.
I'm learning that because, you know, I don't want him to always feel as though the only way he has to handle his problem is through anger.
And aggression. Yeah.
Yes. You know, he has the right to express his feelings.
Yo, I think we probably need to take a collection plate up in here, because I don't know anybody your age says that a child has a right to express themselves.
Oh,
Because, you know, again, my generation, we're like, let them talk it out. Let's understand why they thinking this. And a lot of people who are in the generation before me, they really have a problem with kids talking. And they don't really, you know, but I think it really depends on, you know, the people and growth and maturity and understanding, like, how parenting is just not a dictatorship, right? That our kids have a voice, and that we really need to understand why they do a particular thing, right? I know back in the day when I used to get whipping, my mom be whipping me and asking me why at the same time, like, why you do this, and I'm crying, oh, you talking back? Or if I'm trying to explain to them why I did it, now I'm talking back. It's like the craziest thing in the world. My sister and I look back on it and we be busting out laughing now, because I find myself sometimes getting mad at my children, right? And then I'm asking them questions, and then my sister April has this thing. She was like, Donna, we don't do the why question anymore. I'm like, because they're gonna give you an answer that's ridiculous and it's gonna make you madder. So don't even do the why question anymore. And I was like, no, I want to know why. Why would you do that? But now that I'm in school and I'm taking psychiatry, right, and I understand really why you don't want to ask the why question, because you put, and then you lying, but you put them in that position to sit there and to try to answer it the best way they could come up with, and then you still mad at them, right? They thinking like, yo, you crazy, mom, something wrong with you, you know what I mean? So I think, you know, with parenting, and I think some of this stuff from old generations, old school, is definitely important. We still need to do it, but I think that we can enhance it, kind of like you said, allowing your grandson to be able to talk about it and have that. Because, but I don't know. Maybe again, I keep saying the older generation because how I've been raised. But I'm thinking if my parents' generation did this, your generation did this too, or whatever, but not really. Well, you said you would talk to your kids and they would be able to have a conversation. Or how were you talking? You used to be able to talk to the kids too? Like,
yeah, he was the talker.
Yeah.
He was the talker.
He was talking, you was the, yeah. We
You
already
talking,
got that.
You talking too much.
Yeah.
That's what
Oh, okay. You say you talking too much. Oh, let's handle this. We talking too much. Let's get it.
But I think, you know, this day and time is flying. Back when we were coming up, it wasn't going fast like that. You enjoyed your childhood, you know what I mean? The time flies so much that you don't get a chance to really share things or teach your kids different things that, like what we was taught, you know what I mean?
Right.
Number one, we all learned respect.
Right.
We taught our kids that. No matter what they did, they still had respect.
Right.
They weren't in the streets doing all. I mean, I'm not saying that they were perfect or wasn't cussing and all that, but when adults was around, or
Exactly. When adults around, you wouldn't hear no profanity.
no,
Like
no,
now,
no.
listen. You thought it was like
mean,
the first language.
You don't even know the adult, but when they walk past them, if they cussed, or when I was younger, when I walked past them,
Right.
you know what I mean?
would.
You throwing your hand over your mouth like to say I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Kids now. I mean, I work at a high school.
Okay.
It's terrible. I'm telling you.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
What you?
I have to keep walking because you just can't just say anything to them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
Argue with you.
They different.
Yeah. And sometimes I see some of them doing it in their parents right there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so we did it. We had a quick back.
Right.
You know what I mean? But just as long as they're being respectful, they're not doing anything to harm anybody or themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
So let them grow. You know what I mean? Just let them grow. You talk to them. To the point right now, like you said, we got 139. He don't come around being disrespectful, but of course he slips up because it's part of their language.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? The profanity is part of that generation's language. So sometimes they'll slip up, but oh, I'm sorry, something like that. But that respect always is in their back of their mind and in their hearts and in their.
I think the kids, time has certainly changed, and children has changed, and the world has changed, than when we were younger. And I think there's a thin line between allowing your child to have a voice and having too much of a voice, right?
Yeah.
I think there's a line because you want to let them express themselves, but it's the way that they do it is the concern, right? Because then when it becomes disrespectful,
Right.
Or because, these kids smart. So they hear about all these rights, right? You got kids got rights, parents got rights, this got rights, everything got rights. And, sometimes they think that respect is you give them respect, so that's when they'll respect you. But back in the day, we respected no matter what. Like, I didn't care. My mom beat my face halfway in, but I would never have disrespect her. But now these kids think that, so you going to disrespect me, so I'm going to disrespect you. But that's not how it works. And what you deem disrespect really is just discipline.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But you can't discipline the way that you want to nowadays neither, because they got people backing them up. The courts and what is it?
Donna.
Oh, you're gonna put me out there because I'm a court-appointed special advocate for kids in foster care. So you got me, huh? Yeah.
What they call it? Child abusing your child.
Well,
and
not.
all of that.
Well.
But you can't hit your child no more.
That's
When
not
we
true. It isn't. I think that's a common misconception that you can't hit your child, you can't discipline it. It's the way you do it that becomes the issue. Like punching your child in the face.
Oh no,
Like,
I'm not talking about.
but
like
that's
that.
what happened. So that's what happened. So even when, say, the kid don't like how they were disciplined at home, right? And then it gets investigated, and they realize, and they ask, was it open-handed? Was it punched in the face? If I witnessed a whole mom punch her child in the stomach, like literally beat on him. He was 9 years old, as if he was somebody on the street, and that's her way of disciplining. That's not right. That boy can get some internal bleeding, like you beating him up like he a man on the street. So there's really a difference between discipline and abuse. So what happened was that a lot of parents were abusing kids. Not intentionally though, right? Because if you're only parenting the way you were parented, right? And you listen, one, you're doing it out of fear, right? And two, this is the only way that you know how to discipline your child. So we think that, getting punched in, to go punch a kid in the face at 5 or 6 years old, that's not good.
No.
We know now over time that these kids have social problems and things like that because of that. But if you smacking your kid and all, the state is not going to come take your kid because of those type of things. Right. So a lot of times kids, they call and they say this and the other, but once it's truly investigated, some of these kids that need to actually be out the house, they don't take out the house. So it's not all because the state is backing them up and stuff like that. It is literally, they're just trying to protect their kids because some parents are out of control and they don't know that they're out of control, right? So I think that it's just, that's why I believe that whole village raising children is so important, because it takes a community to really build up these kids. So if we're parenting them at home, the teachers are in the community, and even if, you know, the judge or whatever, you're part of the community. Like, you're not trying to take kids away from their family. You're not trying to put these kids in jail. You're really trying to make these kids become whole as possible, right? But the problem is that we lack so many resources as parents. I think parental resources is like, everybody wants to do so much for kids, right? Which is great. Let's put them in sports. Let's do this so they can stay off the street, right? So that they can get out of trouble. But nobody is talking to the parents of how can we help you in your household so that you can parent your child a particular way. Right? Because here's the thing, if we're in a community, right, and we get these kids and we're doing all this stuff with them, right, and then they go home to a broken home because the mom or the dad don't know how to parent. And then that's when abuse comes, not intentionally. I don't think people, I mean, there are some cases, some people just out there really just doing some bad stuff, and they're doing it out of hurt and brokenness, right? But there's a lot of parents who really want the best for their children. They just don't know how to do it. So that's why we as a community is so important to say, listen, I need help. Like, listen, can you pray? Because something ain't right in this house.
But that's
the thing, though. You're saying, I need help. The parents have to say,
right,
I need help.
Yeah, you don't know. They got to speak up.
Yeah.
But I think it's fear, though, Art, because you just said that if you discipline your child a particular way, they come take your child. So if you're saying you need help, people are fearful that you're saying I'm not doing this right, and I'm abusing my child, or you're gonna take my kid from me. No parent wants their kid taken away from them, so they probably won't speak up.
But there's classes.
Yeah, that's true.
So a part of my help was my oldest sister. Okay, and she had joined a church where their biggest ministry was family ministry.
Okay. Gotcha.
So everything she learned, she brought it to me. Right? So she started helping me to communicate better with my children. Right. Especially at the time of my teenage daughter, you know. So, that was my help right there. Yeah. Not only did we pray together, but she educated me. Everything, that, she brought me the books and everything. We talked about it for hours, Yeah.
I think education is so important because, I think that, most people do the best what they can for what they know. And you only know what you only know. You're only going to do what you only know, right? So I think education is so important. And I think especially in this generation that's coming up now, I see a lot of parents of how they are just having regular conversations with their children. And it's just like, we may not want to have it that way. So that, because a lot of times, what I'm seeing now in this younger generation is like we're crushing the children. We're crushing their spirit. We're crushing them, by screaming and yelling at them again. And when they go to school, matter of fact, Cal, we need to talk about that. You are, you have your own business. You are a director of a child care center, right? So I said this on the show plenty of times about how parents scream and yell at their kids all day, right? So then when they go in the presence of someone else, they don't respond unless you're screaming and yelling at them. Is that something I just made up, or is that really be happening?
No, that happens. It really does.
She said,
So they don't respond to, just a simple, hey, sweetie, come on, let's sit down, or can you clean your table off, or something's calm.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, they'll keep doing what they want to do. And nowadays, I have students that say no.
You got a pre-K. You telling me you got a pre-kids say no?
Yes.
They tell
No.
No.
Okay.
So I just help them to change their answer.
Wait.
No, listen to me.
persuade them to change their answer, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, because you don't want to come into a dirty school.
Right.
You don't want bugs crawling. You know, I make up stories.
You make up
so
stories.
just help them to think.
Right.
You know, wait a minute. If I don't clean up, this is what's going to happen. So your school, you want to come into a dirty school? When people talk about your school, then they say no. Okay, but then clean up. Yeah.
So based on your 39 years of parenting, what would you say has been the most rewarding in your parenting?
Seeing them growing up and being productive citizens. What I mean by that is respecting, being respectful.
You're big on respect, or you
Yeah,
hit
because,
that word like 200 times a night.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yes, because that's key. I mean, you know, you got to show respect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Respect your elders. You know, there's an older generation than us that people are just totally disrespecting.
Right.
I mean, that ain't good. Just, you know, them growing up, them graduating. You know what I mean? Every one of our children graduated from high school. All of them should have graduated from college by now.
So they got their own journey,
Yep.
right?
Art did.
So,
The oldest, right? The 39-year-old Art graduated from college. And he was a basketball player, so he was out there doing his thing.
the other three, they're going to graduate. They're going to graduate.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah, well,
He gonna say they're going to graduate. You know, everybody has their own journey.
Yes, absolutely. So you have Anthony that has his own business in construction.
Right. And that's the youngest.
Yes,
Anthony's
Anthony's
the
the
youngest.
youngest. He is also a basketball player. And then I have my girls. Andrea, she works with a company that helps battered women.
Okay.
And taking care of the women and their children, and you know she loves doing that. You know, she used to work with children like me, you know, but she took it a step further.
Right.
And then Manda is working as a teacher in the business and spooling all the kids in the center.
Loving on them because she got that man to love.
Yes, yes. So they all are doing very well. And for me, just to see how they're raising their children. You know, see how they're raising their children, even though they're doing it different than we did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? The children still have respect, you know, and they're doing well.
Right.
Yeah, the grands are doing well.
I think it's so important to know, like, you know, the fact that they're still in service because you guys serve. That's what you've done in the community, and, you know, and they've seen that. So now they're doing it in their lives, and then their children are going to end up doing it because it's in them, right? But what I love about it is, though, that even though, like, you know, Art, you're saying that they all will graduate, but everybody has their own journey, and you're giving them grace to continue to grow, right? Because it's not one way for everybody.
That's right.
And I think over time, as, you know, we're growing in parenting, we realize that, listen, even though I wanted A, B, and C for you, but you still have your own journey to go on. I'm giving you the tools. You know, my whole thing is that parents are the bows and our children are the arrows, and we shoot them out, right? We shoot them out to go. They may not land exactly on that spot that we point them to, right? But eventually they will land, right? And some kids are right there on the money on the dot. Some kids is a little bit far away, but they're still landing. And they're still doing great things because you have equipped them, given them the tools. Because that's what a bow does. A bow is the strong one, right? The bow is to be able to uphold them so that when we do send our kids out, that we're not sending them out naked. Like, we really have closed our kids with service, love, joy, peace, and all those things so that they can be productive citizens and really have an impact on society.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes in our parenting, when we become very rigid, again, because it's out of fear, like we want you to be somebody. And I think understanding that they're already somebody, you know, and that they don't have to meet the expectations of the world of how you're supposed to do A, B, and C, but really giving them grace to grow. And I can see it in you guys' children, you know. That's why I wanted you on the show, because a lot of us, you know, I'm only 24 years in parenting, but like really 39 years of parenting, and I'll be trying to wonder how I even survived 24 years of parenting. Like, I'm telling you, like, this last group is just woo. But not even that, even my god kids, you know, they something else. Like, they ready to knuck if you buck, like, you know what I mean? So they're a little bit different, and just even learning how to assist their parents of how to raise them too, because they're 4 and 8, and my kids are, the youngest is 15, so that's even a gap, right? So really trying to understand how their generation, because some stuff just like it goes beyond my head, and I'll be wondering like what is going on. But I think it's so important, like we said, give people the grace to grow. And so you guys done pretty well with your kids. I don't know if you guys are sometimes hard on yourself, because as a mom, I'm hard on myself sometimes. But I don't know if you guys really know that you guys are did a great job raising your kids through the ups and downs, and then now you can see the fruit of it, because they're children. Their children are whole. Their children are, you know, well. They're not, you know, suffering from anything that, quote unquote, may not have been as good for their parents, but now they're reaping the benefits of their parents, enhancing the parenting. And I think that's important.
Yes.
Anything y'all want to say to the people before we roll out? Any advice for us? Please, got some advice?
To spend time with their children. I mean, my kids, when I moved, they moved.
They was right by the side.
They ain't let me go nowhere by myself.
Okay.
Period. Rather if we was walking or what, they right there. So just spend time with them, get to know them.
Love on them and listen.
LL, love and listen. I think that's so important. So one more question. So what would you tell people of your generation of how to really help their children be the best parents they can be now? Like, so you know, because again, a lot of older generations, it's kind of rigid. I'm not saying y'all are, because you clearly said that you're not. But what would you say? Because like the older generation, sometimes they're stuck in their ways, and this is the way we're going to do it. This is how I was taught. This is how my grandmother, my great grandmother, all this is what we're going to do. So what would you even say to people of your generation of how to not soften the parenting, but like really get involved in the parenting? But I don't know, like how would you help people your age? Not like that. I'm not saying like that, but you know what I mean? Because it's like sometimes, like, because of it's a different generation, they don't want to change. Like, not to be smart, but like a lot of older people, older generation, I'm not calling you old, but a lot of the older generation are really stubborn and stuck in their ways and thought that the way that they parent was the best way. And even though they did the best they could at the time, but there's some growth and development over the years that really does need to take place so that you don't carry that to your grandkids and your great grandkids. So what would you say? I'm sorry, I was not trying to make it seem like y'all old.
No,
y'all just.
But basically, we all just have to stay open.
There you go.
Stay open and willing to learn. Like I said, you know, there's some things that I just picked up myself, you know, that now I put it into action because of the importance of making sure that the children are being heard instead of me, you know, just giving them a punishment or something like that, right. You know, but listening to them, you know, it makes the child more productive, that they're being heard.
Right, because kids want to be heard. Back in the day, it was you could be seen but not heard. Now kids
and understand, like you said earlier, there's a difference, in arts and, are they being respectful, or are they being disrespectful?
right.
And you have to keep that role as being a parent, not their friend.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's good. That's good. Wait till they
Because-
like 30 or 40, be their friend. Don't be their friend right
Yeah.
now.
Not even when they get 30, 40,
Even 30, 40, you
can't-
ain't their friend.
You still can't be their friend. I mean, because then it'll get to a point where disrespect comes.
Yeah. So okay, I get it. So it's not necessary to be their
mean,
friend,
you
but
can-
just have a different conversation with
Yes,
them versus
yes,
you're not their friend, but you also not their
Yeah.
you're not the one that say because you're not trying to raise them now as an adult, right? You're not trying to raise them, so
I'm
I
not
think-
trying to tell them what to do, but you just
When they want to receive wisdom, then you're free to give it.
Right. That's good. That's really good. Because just because we have opinions doesn't necessarily mean that we need to be able
To give it out.
to give it out.
Yeah.
I think that. So
It
that's
might not-
discipline.
it might not
That's
be right.
that's
It's
that.
might not be the right time.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I certainly thank you guys for coming on the show.
Wow, I finally made it.
You finally made it. Yeah. And people was like, "Well, when Kelly and Art coming on your show?" Like, I know we're 7 months in now, and y'all finally got here.
we have a busy schedule.
Busy schedule.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Perfect timing, though. And I think this is a perfect conversation for it, though, especially with the years of experience you guys have in parenting, and not just one gender. You have two and two, so you have, and then now I got grandkids, so I think that this is a perfect time. So as you guys,
No, I was just saying that with the busy schedule and with me with schooling, I always had class on Thursdays, so I mean for the last 18 months. So my schedule started.
So basically, he's like, "Listen, y'all. The reason why they haven't been on the show is because his schedule is so full, and on
It is.
Thursdays we got you, Art. So I can't blame you no more, huh?"
Being an elder keeps you busy.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining Parenting with a Purpose. Again, my name is Donna Janel. I am your host. We are here weekly at 7 p.m. And the theme is that parents are the bows and our children are arrows, and they're going to land wherever we send them. As long as we dress them with the right tools, they will get there eventually, and giving our kids grace to grow. So we thank you for joining us tonight. Join us back here at 7 p.m. every Thursday. Parenting with a Purpose. Have a great night. Everybody, my name is Donna, also known as Donna Janel, CEO and founder of Parenting with a Purpose. Our strive here at the podcast is to reach every home, whether it's single moms, married, single dads, whatever it is, foster parents, whatever, just bringing the ownership and responsibility and nobility back into parenting. Get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. All parents need some help and guidance, and I'm just here to be a guide.